Ladies and gentlemen, this is the tale of Genji, widely considered to be the world's first novel, or at least the first modern novel. It exemplifies several of those different traits, including a central character, a large cast of supporting major and minor characters, as well as a flowing narrative from beginning, middle to end. However, because of this, it is an extremely complicated piece of work, and due to the period where it was written, it tends to ramble quite a bit. In fact, the text is so complicated that several different translations of it have been made throughout its history, some of them attempting to sort of dumb down the text so that it would be on a more casual reader's level. And to supplement that, there have also been dozens upon dozens of reader's guides published to go along with the novel that break it down and sort of analyze every single aspect of it to make it easier to understand. However, at this point you may be wondering, what the heck does this have to do with a show about video games and anime? Actually, I'm just using that as a segue. It really has nothing to do with video games or anime. But the reason I bring it up is because today's topic actually has the Genji name attached to it. Genji, Dawn of the Samurai, for the PlayStation 2. And believe it or not, this is a game that is actually pretty much the opposite of Murasaki's novel, in that it is short, with flat characters, very straightforward, very to the point, doesn't do a lot of rambling, and in truth is still pretty fun. Don't get me wrong, I like the novel, but my god did it take a long time to get through that first chapter. So, anyway, why do I say this game is so great? Well, let's take a look. Now, I suppose I should start by saying that this game does take place roughly around the same time that the book was written. However, there still are a whole bunch of things that are inconsistent with the book, and it's most likely not based on it at all. In fact, the story itself is much more straightforward when compared to the novel, as I've said, following two warriors on their quest to overthrow an empire. No, this is different. This does not have the Lucas label on it. The plot actually follows effeminate samurai warrior Yoshitsune, one of the last survivors of the Genji clan, and his friend the warrior monk Benkei, who is beefy as all hell, as they fight against the evil Heishi clan, who have taken over Japan and now rule it with an iron fist. Well, there's your plot, folks. Enjoy! Well, okay, it's a bit more complicated than that. See, there are special mystical jewels in this world called the Amagane, which were supposedly handed down to Japan by the gods themselves. These Amagane, when in possession of already skilled warriors, can give them extraordinary powers, like blowing things up, and shooting laser beams, and stuff like that. You know, stuff you'd usually see in ancient Japan. Now, the setup for the game is that almost every single skilled general within the ranks of the Heishi clan have their own Amagane. Yoshitsune and Benkei also have their own Amagane, but they are horrifyingly outnumbered, and the only way to truly defeat the Heishi is to wrest control of the Amagane from them. You know, simple stuff like that. Unfortunately, most of the characters are just as simple as the plot, not going much further in development than their stereotypical tropes will allow. Some of them do get a bit of characterization late in the game, but for the most part you're looking at a standard samurai story here. Very loyal and heroic heroes, very evil villains, and major and minor characters will drop off the face of the earth at one point or another. The only two you really need to know anything about are the two that you'll be playing as anyway. First is Yoshitsune, who is the heir to the Minamoto fortune, and also one of the last surviving members of the Genji clan. Don't let his feminine looks fool you though. He is one powerful warrior, wielding two swords at a time and using grace and elegance to defeat his enemies. And he does it while looking so fabulous. In terms of gameplay, Yoshitsune is definitely the faster of the two and can string together several different combos without getting hit. However, in exchange for his speed, he also has a rather frail form and can't take as much damage as Benkei. Benkei, on the other hand, is a warrior monk who is also from the Genji clan. His family has served Yoshitsune's for several generations, and after a slight misunderstanding on a bridge that's rather reminiscent of Robin Hood's fight with Little John, the two of them become very good friends, and the master-servant relationship continues as they both try to fight off the Heishi together. In direct contrast with Yoshitsune's speed and grace, Benkei prefers to walk slowly but carry a mighty beating stick, not to be confused with his mighty stick of beating. However, in exchange for his power, he is slow. And I mean that very literally. A lot of his attacks take a very long time to wind up, which leaves him completely open to attack. You know, I could be very juvenile right now and make an overcompensation joke, but I'd like to think I'm better than that. Now, these characters don't develop much past their given stereotypes by the end of the game, but at least they go out and do stuff. The rest of the characters only really serve to give exposition or for specific plot devices. For example, Keiichi here is basically your standard old man mentor type character who wanders into this game with a sign around his neck that says, "I'm going to die halfway through this game." Other characters include his daughter, Princess Minazuru, who is basically there as a tutorial character and to act as a damsel in distress. And then you have Princess Shizuku, a priestess who is able to somehow combine two Amagane into one, and also exists to wear funny hats and be a second damsel in distress. The game does go the extra mile and gives us two villains, however, the first of which being Kagekiyo, a psychotic yet soft-spoken general of the Heishi clan, and the second being the leader of the Heishi clan itself, Kiyomori, who exists solely to yell at his underlings and be the illegitimate love child of Jabba the Hutt and Fat Bastard. "Get in my belly, David Jedi, ho ho ho!" In terms of gameplay, there is nothing revolutionary or new about this title, but what it does exceedingly well. Controls are extremely responsive, everything feels nice and in place, and you feel every slash of the sword and every kick of the foot here. It's really done well. Now, like I said before, you can play as two different characters, but you do not have the option of switching between them on the fly, so you do have to use strategy to decide who you want to play as. The game also has a very simple flow to it. You talk to a specific character who will give you some information about a new area on the map. That area will open up, you go there, and you will eventually fight off hordes of enemies, usually ending in a minor boss fight, or sometimes a major boss fight, depending on how far into the game you are. And then after you beat that, you'll gain some new information that you can either take back to that character, or you will also have the option to go into town and stock up on healing items once again before continuing on with the game. And this cycle repeats for the whole entire game. Now, since this is a hack and slash, much like Dynasty Warriors, well, you can expect combat to be a big focus of the game. However, as fluent the controls are, there really isn't a whole lot of strategy to these fights. It's just mash one button and slice everybody down, and there are no real special attacks you can do in combat either. The one special thing that you can do in combat is called Kamui, or as I like to call it, the ancient Japanese art of bullet time. When you use the Kamui ability, indicated by the blue meter below your health meter, time will slow down, and as your enemies rush at you, an action indicator will appear below your character. By pushing the action indicator in time, you'll one-hit KO your enemies. Fatality. However, when you're not in combat, most of the focus is just running down a linear pathway until you either reach your destination or run into more things to kill. It's not really exciting.